podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
How are you feeling about what was a pretty thorough defeat to Barcelona?
Yeah, it was really, really unfortunate. It followed the pattern of so many big games, particularly against them, funnily enough. You know, I was rather proud of United's efforts in the first leg. I know you were quite scathing and said, "Oh, decent performance, no shots. Does that equal no shots on target? Does that equal a decent performance?" But I thought actually their endeavour was really good. I thought it really looked promising, and we almost forced Barcelona to park the bus against us in the second half, which was kind of unexpected. But we gave away an incredibly easy goal in that game, meaning they could safely just park the bus, as it were. And then in the second game, we did the thing we always do. We did it in 2009. We did it in 2011. Started incredibly brightly, incredibly impressive. Rashford hit the bar. We looked really like we were really going for it. And then we hit what we'd hit in the home leg also, which is the living embodiment of O-ring theory that is Ashley Young.
Yeah, we'll come on to Young because there's some multifaceted things we have to talk about there, I think. So, I think your assessment of the first game was more generous than mine. United pressed forward, but I think the assessment is based on expectations. So it was pretty ineffective, I thought. You know, pushing forward, had more of the ball. Barcelona were happy to sit back a bit more, which, by the way, they do under Valverde quite a lot more than they have done under previous managers over the last sort of 10, 15 years or so. And United didn't really make much of their pressure. So I'm like, well, does that really count for much? I mean, if the keeper's not made a save, were United really that effective? And I think we, I talked about expectations, but it's also about types of positions. So if, and the few chances United did create were wasted. If we made those mistakes at the back, we'd have lost 5-0. You know, so you kind of forget how poor we were up front as a result. So anyway, that's my assessment of the first game, really. You know, it felt good because we pushed them back after a really difficult start, but it wasn't that good.
But I just think genuinely, such a massive part of the problem with United's overall performance in that game was just Ashley Young. Like, normally it's a team sport, right? So singling out one player for being the pivotal reason that the whole thing fell apart, even if someone makes a disastrous mistake that leads to a goal, say, you've still got 90 minutes of collective endeavour to make up for that or whatever. But he gave the ball away 42 times in that game. 42 times. And Pogba in particular, I thought, was absolutely excellent in that game. And the thing that he kept doing excellently was finding Ashley Young in space on the right-hand side in our attacks. And it happened over and over and over again. And Young blew it every time. And it really was, rarely has there ever been such a condensed example of one player causing so much to go wrong in that.
Well, that's right. And Barcelona are very smart to target him. And especially since United in the first leg doubled up on Messi. So Shaw in this kind of slightly weird left side of a three-man defence. At least that's how they started the game. And Dalot at left wing back, just trying to cut Messi out of the game. And actually quite effectively. But Barcelona were able to, as you say, attack down their left, United's right. And it was a real point of weakness. It was even more a point of weakness in the second game, of course, where Young was marking Messi on his own. And completely came unstuck. I have to say, I found it really hard ahead of the second leg to justify why Ashley Young would have been in the team or in the squad or anywhere near the city of Barcelona at all. And he's been a good servant for the club, and in many ways it's not his fault. It's a condemnation of just how bad the failure at this club has been, that a former winger is now a converted fullback, trying to defend against the best player in the world. That's nuts. It's just nuts. But there was no justification for playing him, like long term or short term. I just couldn't work it out. Other than the other option was Rojo, and we can talk about how bad he is as well. He's come back against West Ham pretty awful. So, he was a real problem in both legs, Ashley Young. Not the only problem, of course, but it just allowed Barcelona to target him. He panics when they press, and he kept giving the ball away. I saw that stat floating around on Twitter, and I tried to add up the loss of possession, the interceptions, the failed take-ons and stuff like that. And I couldn't quite come up to that number.
Right.
But of course, different stats people have different numbers. It was a lot anyway.
Yeah, that stat came from your boy Statman Dave, who he's not a friend of the show yet, but it's only a matter of time. We'll have Dave on and have a chat with him.
Yeah, well, he's a trusted source, so that's fine by me.
Yeah, he's not going to put that out without maybe it'd be one or two off by mistake or whatever, but it's not going to be. It's not like somebody who's just making a wild random shout to try and get retweets.
No, and it's a perfectly fair assessment anyway. It's an extraordinary number, but it's an assessment of just how bad Young is. I mean, I just can't justify it now. I mean, Dalot's such a promising player, and it was a surprise to me that he didn't start in Camp Nou. Came on later in the game, didn't he? In a some more forward position. But at this point, it's not going to be any weaker. Anyway, that's Ashley Young.
No.
I agree with you on the assessment of Paul Pogba. He took a lot of criticism afterwards. I just don't understand it sometimes. I thought he was United's sort of United's midfield in that first leg was actually fairly effective, wasn't it? Fred had a decent game. Beginning to look like the player that we hoped he would be. Sort of engine room. I think Andermark 2. McTominay, just all composure, and the thing that really marks McTominay out with his recent performances is that he's brave passing forward, and he was brave passing forward at Camp Nou as well. By the way, I think he's matured a lot, and that's the big difference between McTominay as he's an okay player because he's technically good, isn't he? He's very composed under pressure. To McTominay potentially actually having a real future at this club, being Carrick Mark II. And then Pogba of the third of that trio in the first leg, I thought he was the one trying to push United forward all of the time. He's the one always most likely to find spaces for United to attack into and press the opposition back. And he gets a lot of abuse all of the time. And if he scored a 25-yarder worldie every now and again, I guess it would change. I mean, it just shows you how sort of narrow people's thinking is on these things. But for the player, I thought he was very good. I read one assessment after the game. Oh, it was Jonathan Wilson, which I have to say, I like Wilson's writing, but he definitely phoned this one in. He made two arguments in his piece. It was headlined, Solskjaer has to be more than just not Mourinho. Okay. Which was basically has to do something other than just get a happy bump from the players getting rid of the manager they didn't like. Okay, get that one. It's not 50,000 people on Twitter haven't made that point already. The second point he made was Pogba's neither a number 10 or a number 8. He's somewhere in between. Therefore, he doesn't fit the modern game, which I just thought was honestly nonsense. He's so good that if he was made available tomorrow, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and anyone else who could afford him, which is not too many, would snap him up.
Yeah, and also he just won the World Cup as a number 6, as well. That's another key salient point. Although I guess you could say that Olivier Giroud just won the World Cup as a number 9, so it's not a universally convincing argument. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so first game, started badly. United came back into it. And second game started well, didn't it?
Really well.
Really well. I mean, early chance for Rashford. United. I think Ollie said before the game that we can't rely on fate because, of course, everyone asked him about Barcelona New Camp 99, all of that kind of stuff. And he said, we have to win this ourselves. We have to be brave. And United definitely were for what? 8 minutes? 10 minutes?
Until when did the goal go in?
Somewhere around. I can't remember.
10, we'd lost
9. Was it 9 or 12?
Something like
I'm
that.
just
Anyway,
keep shouting out numbers until I'm right.
It was just such a, when Young made the sort of double error. I mean, a lot of things have to happen after that, but really that was the moment that enabled the goal. Messi cuts inside, and as soon as Messi's cutting inside, the error of inevitability is completely overwhelming. And just for a minute, I was like, okay, this is bad, but it's not the disaster nightmare scenario. And then, of course, Messi scuffs a shot, and Dave chucks one into his own net for yet another major goalkeeping error from David De Gea. We talked a lot about this on the podcast last time we did one. I was going to say last week, but let's face it, it was longer ago than that. But this was an extraordinary error and extraordinary time. I mean, it wasn't quite Loris Karius passing the ball to Benzema in the Champions League final, but it wasn't a million miles away from that level of error.
It was a horrendous error, and something about his focus has definitely gone. I mean, I'm just going to assume it's contract negotiations. He's just not, like, you just don't expect it. Don't expect it from Dave in such a big game. And I know he's made a few mistakes this season. Even so, this got to have been the biggest one of the season, the worst of the season. He's got a lot of banker credit, so I have to say I find complete nonsense the people all over Twitter who are all suddenly sell him, get rid of him now. Who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to bring in?
It's the same people. It's exactly the same people that were saying get rid of Pogba immediately before he went on a run of becoming our top goal scorer and top assist maker of the season in the subsequent 3 months that followed.
Yeah,
and they were all saying sell Pogba again as well. By the way,
yeah, well they are. Yeah, I mean, but before Dave chucked it in, you referenced Young 3 mistakes. Count them up, right? So, I mean, it's utterly bizarre. This 34-year-old ex-winger turned fullback trying to do a Cruyff turn in the Camp Nou in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. What? It does not compute. But 3 mistakes in the lead up to that goal, and Fred is just too easily beaten. He's got to do better than that. Although we have talked before about him not being a good defender. Lots of energy, but don't put him in defensive positions. So
I mean, you said about Fred in the first game, maybe looking like the midfielder we thought he'd be. In the second game, very much looking like the midfielder everyone now thinks he is. Like, dreadful again, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, none of the midfield could really get a hold of any kind of possession. For a while, United had more possession in that second game than they did in the first game. So it was creeping up to near 40% at one stage. Ooh. But I couldn't really do anything effective with that in midfield at all. The front players, front 2, just looked, front 3, I guess, with Lingard as a false 9, very false 9 in this one. Just not able to put Barcelona under any pressure at all, really.
It was really reminiscent of 2009, I think, in the sense. I mean, it was reminiscent of 2011 in terms of the golfing class between the two teams, I thought. But it was really reminiscent of 2009 in the way that their goal took all the air out of United. And I have to say, I don't condemn this particular United side for that, because I think to suddenly find yourselves 3-0 down in the Nou Camp, I'm not entirely surprised their heads collectively went. Now, of course, we would much rather they get to the point where they've got the kind of mental stability to kind of push on beyond that. But they knew they needed they needed the bounce of the ball before that game started. And so once you're 2-0 down, I mean, it's hard not to see that game as over at that point. The idea that they were going to score 3 for no reply against Barcelona, it would have seemed, I guess, kind of fanciful.
Yeah, and against the Barcelona side, which is a good one and will win La Liga, but I'd be surprised if it goes down as one of the greatest ever. I could be completely wrong about that, because I suppose if they win the Champions League and La Liga double, they will be right up there. But there are weaknesses in this Barcelona side. There are weaknesses in this Barcelona side when they play away. not so many at Camp Nou.
Yeah.
But you're right. At 2-0, I think everyone knew this was over, and at that point it was about trying to make sure they had some dignity.
So let's play the Man United fans who didn't go to the game bingo. At what minute did you switch over to Juve Ajax?
Oh no, I had it on all the time. I did flick it up on a second screen.
Yeah. Did you make the switch so that Juve Ajax was on the big screen, on the main screen? No, you're a better red than me. I just turned the channel because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just like watching people that you like have bad things happen to them, and I figure anything big happens, I'll switch it back. But I just couldn't face watching the tepid last 20 minutes. What basically happened was I looked at the clock and I realised there was more than half an hour left to go of the game, and I just thought I can't take another half an hour of this. It doesn't seem like a good use of time to watch this.
No, and actually in that last half an hour, United made a pretty good, decent fist of it, did they?
Oh, yeah, well done to the lads. Well done to the lads.
They defended well. Barcelona obviously took the foot off the gas somewhat.
Yeah.
Made a couple of changes. Sanchez and Lukaku came on up front. Sanchez actually did some running, which was obviously.
He always does some running.
The cameras are on. He's got to get himself a contract somewhere, hasn't he?
No, literally no. No, exactly. Sadly. That's exactly the opposite of the situation.
He had a header, which Ter Stegen saved very well. Diving header. Could have got a little bit back from that. But look, Dalot, Sanchez, Lukaku came on for the three very ineffective forwards, and I guess giving them all a rest. And United did all right for the last half an hour, but no, I mean, I'm really clutching at desperate straws there to try and pull anything good out of this. But I mean, look, those are the games. But I think the conversation after the game has been much less about United's failing during the match. I mean, I don't think getting beaten by Barcelona is something we've seen before. It's happened to lots of teams. And given the golfing class in players, we're not surprised about. And so, fine. A lot of the conversation, of course, has been about where the club goes from here and whether we can ever get to challenging Barcelona legitimately, because, of course, we played them in 2 Champions League finals in 3 years, whether we can get there again. Unfortunately, Ole said after the game that we should aspire to their level. Bad choice of words. Very bad choice of words.
The funny thing is, in 2011, you and I were talking about what United have to do to close the massive gap to Barcelona, because we played them in a Champions League final, but only by virtue of the draw being really weird that season. Because they had to beat Real Madrid in the semi-final and we had to beat a very average Schalke. Yep. So like that one almost doesn't count. Like the last time we were legitimately campaigning at their level was when we had Ronaldo in the team.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and we've got further and further and further away from them ever since, basically. And the only reason we're not even further away from them is that they hit an incredible peak. Well, they've hit like 2 incredible peaks, haven't they, since then? 2011 and 2015, and we've not got anywhere close. And you and I were having a heated discussion before the podcast started recording, and I think it almost seems like obviously I'm not on Twitter anymore, so thankfully, so I'm not seeing the worst of this. But even just conversations I have with people I know, there almost seems to be this assumption that if you wanted Ole to be the manager, you somehow thought the reason that you wanted Ole to be the manager was because you thought we'd just win every game now. Like you thought that run that we were on would just keep on going forever under Ole. But that was never the case. To me, it was I kind of always wanted him to be the manager, and the start that he made and the kind of consistency and the variety and basically just everything about him means that to me, he's the kind of, he has the kind of combination of understanding, institutional knowledge, relationship to the club, relationship to the fans, man management skills, that if he gets things right, he could be someone that over a good long period of time is able to build a sustainable growth towards something approaching what we should be again. Because I don't think there's a quick fix back to the top for United. I mean,
No,
obviously there isn't.
No. Well, I agree with that last point. I don't think there's a quick fix back to the top. So, a couple of things. So, some short-term observations before I think about the structural stuff. One, I think most of United's downturn over the last 7 games, so 5 defeats in 7 games now, but you look a bit further back than that, and some poor performances before that. I think a lot of that has been down to the injury crisis and the post-injury crisis reintegration of players who were unfit for a while. And I think that completely disrupted Ole's plan, which was high energy, high tempo pressing and quick transitions, right? And this was his entire plan, and that has gone out the window with the injuries. It's completely disrupted it. And I think those people who don't recognise that aren't being very honest or are being very blind about that. So I feel very sorry for him that happened because this squad is still a squad that isn't better than between 5th and 6th in the Premier League.
What do you mean? Do you think that the squad isn't the 4th best squad in the Premier League?
Don't know. Not sure. I mean,
who's definitely got a better squad?
No, I don't think. Well, I said I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
so
right, fair enough. Yeah,
don't get old Paxman on me. So I would definitely be a decent politician. I can worm my way out of questions like that, and Sorge.
Yeah.
So anyway, look. My point being is that it isn't a great squad in right now against peers. Or historically over the last sort of 20 years of United squads. It's not one of the better ones. And so once some of the better players were injured or, in fact, key squad players were out and it disrupted the way that Ole wanted to play, I think that has really impacted United. I think the fitness levels clearly, given just a desperate lack of energy we've seen in some games, the fitness levels aren't very high, and I'm not sure that can be fixed with a week away in Dubai.
No.
So we need a proper pre-season. So all those caveats about what's happened to United, and I have a lot of sympathy for Ole. That said, I have to say, I think some of Ole's decisions in recent games, switching around formations and players, constantly playing players in weird positions like Shaw in the back 3, Young in the back 3.
Young
twice in the back
pitch.
3.
No,
Young anywhere
Young
near the
playing.
pitch.
Yeah.
I don't think it's helped. And I think he's got trapped in the same thing that happened to Mourinho and Van Gaal before him, which is trying to fix some of the weaknesses by tinkering around. And a lot of managers do that. And I would hope he'll be able to step back from that and do some critical analysis and wonder whether going back to first principles isn't what he needs, and he might get a little bit more out of this team. That said, I do think a lot of them are knackered, and it's going to be very hard to turn this ship around. So I have some sympathy. Then the longer term one, I don't know. I don't know whether we can see anything in his first 15 or 20 games or whatever it was before it sort of went bad. That tells us that he would be able to create a great team that competed for the Premier League and European titles. I've no idea, and he sure as hell can't do it with the right kind of recruitment. And there's zero evidence of that has happened since Gill and Ferguson left. So I think it's a very long shot that he does that for a number of reasons. One, we don't know he can do it. He's never been tested in squad building at this kind of level. And we don't know that Woodward's going to be able to pull off those kind of transfers.
I actually think there's a really important, small but important revisionist history point that needs to be made about something that you just said, which we hear all the time, and it's used as a shorthand, recruitment since Gill and Ferguson left. But truthfully, it's recruitment since 2008, which was the last summer when United truly recruited well.
Right.
And even actually, it's not that. It's 2007. It's the acquisition that summer we bought Carrick, because really, Anderson, Nani, and and Hargreaves, well, those are mixed successes at best, aren't they? Every summer since then, Ferguson brought in players, with the exception of Robin van Persie, who either weren't good enough.
No, you're right. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, it is a revisionist argument. Yeah, it's Ferguson patched over the weaknesses in the squad.
Yeah,
with his absolute brilliance, and the Glazers were thankful for that, or probably blind to it, and probably believed that you can always have success, and now realizing that that's not true. But I do wonder whether, because we haven't seen, and we've seen a lot of spending from United since Ferguson left, and definitely the United decided that they could find value in the market, or whatever the change in attitude was, or they stopped caring about that, and have started spending money. But this is at a time when the whole football commercial broadcast rights and commercial market rose very quickly, and all the top clubs have now to spend a lot of money, except for perhaps Real Madrid, who haven't, weirdly, because they sell very well. So it's in context of the whole market.
And it's it is going to be a massive test for Solskjaer. The thing that we were really disagreeing about before the podcast, I was just being a bit silly, really. I wasn't really making my argument properly. But I do believe that at some point United are going to have to find a horse and flipping stick with it for a few years, because the chopping and changing of managers, as we all saw with our rivals over the years for decades and decades, was a great obstacle to building and stability and success. Now, maybe the stability now in modern football has to happen at a level that isn't anything to do with the head coach and is all about the structures of the team and all of that kind of thing. But one thing's for sure, United need a plan, and they need to execute a plan over the long term, because we're not buying 3 players this summer and winning the league next season.
No.
But it's not even about that even anymore. We're not buying 3 players and being in the running for major trophies next season. We're like, are we going to get 4th is going to be the big question again.
It will be. Yeah. No, I do wonder whether you're right. Many European clubs change the manager and most of the squad every 3 years. That kind of recycling is an accepted part of sort of elite European football, and United were the exception to that rule, because Ferguson was so good at squad management and such a brilliant manager that he was able to buck that trend. But we're kidding ourselves if United somehow have some exceptionalism here that allows this club to buck the trend of every structure that is the structure that is held by almost every club in Europe, right? Like we're not somehow better than everyone else that we can do that, and Woodward certainly isn't the man to do that. So you're right that we I'm sure that we need to modernise our structure, which allows you to swap in and out coaches and players within some kind of long-term vision. I talked a little bit earlier about Valverde's Barcelona being prepared to defend a bit more, and that's been controversial in Barcelona because the template is so well understood. From Cruyff through to Guardiola, through to the coaches they've had since Guardiola, they know how Barcelona plays. And of course, if it all goes a bit wrong, they've always got Messi, the cheat button. And it's the same at many other European clubs where there are cycles of success and failure, but within that cycle, they try and build some kind of longer term plan.
Yeah, and
are United going to do it? Doesn't seem like it.
I guess the thing that I'm talking about is 5 years, not 20, obviously. Like listen, Ferguson wouldn't have got 20 years if he hadn't started winning league titles, would he? He was given a great deal of patience at first, out of a combination of recognition of his talents and recognition of the absolute mess United was in as a kind of club. Across the board, every facet of United needed attention. And so there was some recognition at board level that was the case. Plus there was Ferguson's incredible track record in Scottish football, because what he did at Aberdeen at the time that he did it it was evidence of what was to come, wasn't it? So it was a unique set of circumstances, but of course, he really needed a few years to rebuild United, and someone now needs a few years to rebuild United. We need to be seeing enough from the manager. We need to be seeing, I don't know, for me, I need to be seeing genuinely, like the right kind of attitude is extremely important. Like generally the right messaging is really important to see that. It's not trivial. It's not unimportant. It's like almost the most important thing. We need to be seeing the right kind of football in the sense of genuinely like, let's play robust, attack-minded football. That can be counter-attacking football, sure, but when we counter-attack, it should be like swift and with purpose. Do you know what I'm saying? I know these are all, I guess you could say they're cliches, but I don't think they are. They're the things that I need to be seeing from a manager to think, yep, we're gonna stick with this guy for a number of years, not just go like, okay, well, we'll give him a season and see how that works out, because at some point we definitely have to stop doing that unless we get incredibly
that's
lucky.
Also, look, not true. So Moyes got less than a season, but I think it was pretty clear early on that he was a bust. Right? It was a horrible appointment, a terrible mistake. He was completely out of his depth, and the players knew it. I'm not sure that that's the case with Van Gaal and Mourinho. I mean, Van Gaal had how many seasons? Two seasons, right? And we could have made the argument after winning the FA Cup that he should have kept his job. Now, the football was so awful and prosaic and probably wouldn't have changed if he had 11 Messis in the side that I think there was a good justification for getting rid. Woodward did it on the basis of not making the top four.
And I think Mourinho being available.
I mean, he burnt every bloody bridge last summer onwards. I mean, it was completely untenable for him to stay. So I think if there are the signs of recovery and the right messages are coming forward and the players still believe a coach will get some time, but there's no automatic 5 years for Ole here. No way. And he's going to be in a very difficult position, I think, if the club don't back him in the right way. And it's clear from the way he was talking in the January transfer window and talking about the summer that he really doesn't have an awful lot of control over that. He has some views over it, but who United sign and the types of contracts they put these players on, that is all Woodward now. And Woodward has consolidated his position, and I bet that's part of the reason why he was happy to appoint Ole. Not that Ole is just some kind of yes man, but that he was so happy to have the job, and he's much, much less likely to rock the ship and challenge Woodward's hegemony, which is total at this point.
Well, I hope that turns out not to be the case. I do hope that turns out not to be the case, but we'll see on that front. There's another thing that I wanted to say about the kind of overall downturn in form. And this ties directly into the conversation that we're having now about the future of the club and contracts and who's in charge. And this is Ander Herrera, which I don't think we've recorded since. Is it fully 100% official? Like, I guess it's everything but fully 100% official.
There's no press release and unveiling ceremony.
But he's going to PSG this summer instead of re-signing for United, and I think the fact that because if you look at our performances when they were good under Solskjaer, Herrera was incredibly key to disrupting opposition attacks, to start counter-attacks, to the pressing game, to his kind of getting further up the pitch to support Pogba. So there were more options. There were just numbers going forward the whole time. I mean, he was absolutely integral. And the combination of him getting injured and then now like leaving and whatever that means, whether he's actually injured or not, because he hasn't played since all the PSG stuff came out, whether he really is injured or if it's just, he's got the PSG flu. I think that's an absolutely massive individual factor in the downturn, and he's almost the player I would most have wanted to be available against Barcelona, apart from maybe Luke Shaw.
Yeah, look, he had been very good under Ole for sure, and my reaction to Herrera going is disappointment because he could be an important player, and then realism on two fronts. One is that there are many better midfielders than Herrera out there, for sure. Whether United are willing to spend the money to recruit them is a completely different question. And then the second point of realism, they offered him a 4-year contract. He's nearly 30, 4-year contract at £300,000 a week, it seems. He'd be mad not to take that. United were apparently willing to treble his wages, but on a shorter contract. So, and we also know the problem of having old players on long contracts. I mean, there's some irony in if this is really true that the club have refused to do that. There's some irony, of course, because they bought Nemanja Matic and even worse, much worse, Alexis Sanchez, older players on very long contracts, very big contracts.
All right, so this is a thought experiment. In the Premier League, who is a better midfielder than Ander Herrera? I'm not saying there aren't any. I'm saying like list for me, if you would be so kind, the midfielders who are better than Ander Herrera.
Paul Pogba.
Yeah, agreed.
Can I have that one?
Yeah.
De Bruyne, Silva.
Yeah.
Gundogan is probably on the same sort of level, I'd say.
Okay.
Fernandinho, definitely a better midfielder. Getting older now.
Yeah, I'll give you that, but this season, but not next. Probably.
Over at Liverpool, well, there's a question mark because I have to say I'm not a big fan of Henderson, but people over there love him.
I'll give you Fabinho.
Fabinho, who's actually not necessarily been the best performer of that Liverpool midfield this season.
Oh, he's been much better in the second half of the season.
Much better in the second half of the season, yeah. Arsenal, well, Torreira definitely has the ability. I don't know, he hasn't been, but good argument. That's the that's the oral equivalent of have a think about that. Is that?
Yeah. Oh, Sergio Aguero just scored a really annoyingly good goal, and they're winning now. No, I'm not having Torreira. Anyone else? I'm definitely not having anyone else. Maybe Aaron Ramsey. Maybe.
Yeah, he's a better player.
And that's it. There's no one at Chelsea that's a better midfielder than Ander Herrera. Oh yeah, N'Golo Kante is.
N'Golo Kante, yeah.
He's a better midfielder than anyone. Yeah, so there's like a little handful, and there's definitely none at any other team. I mean, maybe Decore, maybe all the Wolves lads. I don't know. This is getting a little sticky now, this conversation, but still.
What have the Romans ever done for us? Apart from the drains and the roads.
I don't think there's that many midfielders who are better than Ander Herrera. Not that many.
But there are.
Yeah, all right.
Look, an evidence of this is Herrera being in and out of the team under 3 managers. So
crikey though. But most of them there's only 2 managers that he was in and out of the team under, and they were both insane. And almost literally every good performance that either of those managers got out of the team had Ander Herrera in it.
Yeah. Look, and look, I'm not being revisionist. I think he's a good player. Yeah. I don't think he's a great one. Is he the player to take United? Would we like Herrera in a United squad that was challenging for the title? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Would he necessarily be in the team every week? I don't know, because I'm sure there are players out there that are better than him. And but I just don't. The thing is, like the second part of that argument, because I hear that argument a lot or read it, is the assumption that United can get a player that is better.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm not sure about
that. That is the big question, isn't it?
Lloris beaten his near post. Now there's a goalkeeper that fell far.
He made an amazing save from De Bruyne, and also I don't think it counts. Being beaten at your near post, I don't think it counts against Aguero. Because Aguero beats more good keepers at their near post than any striker I've ever seen in my life. Like, because he takes his shots.
He shoots early and hits a clean ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I mean, look, what the defeat left me feeling was pretty deflated, actually. And deflated not just because, the gap is huge to the top of European football. And Barcelona, they play Liverpool next, don't they? That'll be a close one, but I imagine at this point they're favourites for that. And if they win that, they're favourites for the tournament. So they are one of the top 3 best sides in Europe, shall we say? And United got a good schooling there. So it's not that I'm depressed that we couldn't beat Barcelona. I'm kind of depressed about how far the gap is to get back into the top echelons of Europe. And I don't think United making the quarterfinals of the Champions League counts. Right? I don't think we're going to say, oh yeah, that means we're in the top 8 clubs in Europe. We're not in the top 4 clubs in the Premier League at the moment. Yeah, definitely not in the top 3.
That's what I was just going to say. The thing about all of this is top echelons of European competition. My goodness, we have not realistically competed for the title since Alex Ferguson retired in England. We are Liverpool. It's happened. It's not
top 3 finish and 4 3 failures to qualify for the Champions League, but it is looking very likely it's going to be 4. I think United probably have to win 5 games now in order to definitely qualify for the Champions League. And 2 of those 5 are against Chelsea and Manchester City.
And one of those is a difficult opponent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chelsea are fighting for their spot too. So.
No, I know. They went on a little good run, but they were not good against Liverpool.
They were not good. They were very passive.
We had yet another row. Ed, why do we keep having rows? Are we falling out? We had another row, this time over Eden Hazard, who you said has had 2 good seasons in the last 6.
Yeah, about that, maybe 2.5.
But I sent you the list of his average scored rating, but also all his goals and assists, and he's like, apart from 1 season, basically, he's in 20 for goals and assists every season for the last 6 seasons.
Yeah, not buying it.
Your Hazard opinion is weird. It's weird.
No, I think he's a very good player. I think his opinion of how good he is and the company he might be among, and some media and pundits' opinions of the company in which he might belong is very different from what I think he actually produces, which is a lot of hot and cold. So I like if I was to compare him against, he's been in England 6 years now, right?
Yeah.
6, 7 years.
6 years, I think.
Yeah. So the output from him versus, say, David Silva, right? I think they're completely different. And I
mean, I bet Hazard's got Silva beat for goals and assists, right?
Well, he might do, but I don't think in terms of contribution to really top quality teams. So,
what would Hazard's contribution have been if he was playing for Man City for the last 6 years?
Well, we'll find out when he's playing for Real Madrid next season, whether and after Real have spent 400 million euros in the market or whatever they're planning to do, whether his contribution really would be that good in a really top team. We'll see.
What's interesting is I think my main kind of knock against Hazard almost would actually be not that he sees himself in this elite company or whatever, but actually slightly lacked ambition. I think it was a slightly ambition-lacking decision to choose Chelsea over United when he did, given that Ferguson was still at United at the time, and we went and won the league the next season, kind of thing. I mean, maybe he saw, maybe Hazard got the nod and the wink that Van Persie and Kagor didn't get, that Fergie wasn't going to be there forever. But anyway, but then I think out of kind of loyalty partly, but also perhaps a bit of lack of ambition, he shouldn't still be at Chelsea, because Chelsea have been such a mess for most of the last 6 years. They've had 2 good seasons basically since he's been there. But I think he's been doing pretty well in pretty difficult circumstances for a lot of it myself. Anyway,
let's move on. I don't want to be talking about Chelsea an awful lot.
No.
Are we done with that? Can we congratulate the Manchester United women's team for qualifying, being promoted, beat Aston Villa.
I'd missed that
this evening.
Fantastic.
So they
brilliant.
definitely promoted to the Women's Super League next season.
Brilliant. That's super exciting. It's going to be, I'm hoping to watch them a lot more then in that case.
You will be able to. Much better covered. And
I guess they're going to have to do quite a bit of work, aren't they, in terms of It's going to be interesting. That's an interesting decision because obviously it's very clear that they've got like a real kind of good team spirit and everything there. And Casey Stoney's built a real kind of collective. But it'd be interesting. And they've done very well in the Cups against like top division opponents. It's going to be interesting to see how well they can sustain it, whether they do, because obviously they're a team that's been assembled out of parts bought from other clubs. It's going to be really interesting to see if they try and invest heavily and bring in some big names or whatever, if they stick with the core of the team that's got them up.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, very different market there, and there aren't really transfer fees as such. I'm sure the club will have some ambition there and recruit new players. I mean, they've done okay. Yeah, they lost to Reading and beat Birmingham and played well against Arsenal in that quarter-final. Clearly way too good for that division.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to see how next season goes.
Great. Shall we do some listener questions?
I guess we really should, given that we haven't for such a long time.
Yeah, we haven't. Joey Mangini says, can we just sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as permanent manager and replace him with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as caretaker manager?
I like that one. No,
we can't. I do kind of think it's a kind of really weird take, which is, we have lost 5 games in 7, so obviously no one's feeling good about that. To our double nemesis of Wolverhampton Wanderers and Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But a lot of takes are basically along the lines of should have waited, and in fact from some serious people as well, which was one take from a very well-known, very well-respected Irish journalist at a major national newspaper.
I mean, why don't you just say Miguel Delaney? Like, why are you afraid? Miguel's coming after us.
Which was basically along the lines of this feels like it was an emotional decision to appoint him, and they may well have rushed into it, or perhaps worse than that, this was a reaction to what came before. And I have some sympathy with that, because I do think the club has been reactive all along, and that is what Woodward is, right? He reacts to an agent dropping a shiny new player in front of him, and he reacts to events as they are happening. He doesn't have a long-term vision. The club doesn't have a long-term vision.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, that was a long answer to a question which was a very good joke.
Stick Drawbridge says, why are United playing better in the games they're losing than the games they're winning? Yeah, but we didn't actually talk about the West Ham game because that was an absolute stinker. I mean, I'm not going to say that United played better in the Barcelona game because I'm not sure that's true.
First 10 minutes were really good against Barcelona.
Yeah, well, that's true. But God, United were awful. I mean, 2.4 or something on the XG. 1.8 of that is the 2 penalties, and another 0.4 something of that was Phil Jones's header from about 3 yards out, which he missed. It was just a dreadful performance. 0 energy in this whole team, which kind of prompted my, they'd obviously been prompted before this, but reinforced my view that I think this is a fitness problem. A lot of it is a fitness problem. It was just, really, really bad. And West Ham were unlucky not to get something from that game. I think the penalties were fair call, by the way. We can't keep playing and we definitely can't play like that in the next, 5 or 6 games left? Can't remember now.
I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
You look it up.
I'm just gonna look it up quietly. Got new internet, which is nice. It's very nice. My new internet.
Very good.
Sorry, Tom. All right, here we go. So we play Everton on Sunday, then we play City on Wednesday at home, Chelsea on the following Sunday at home, Huddersfield away, then Cardiff at home, and then Perth Glory, but that's not until July.
So 5 actual Premier League games left.
Yeah, and Everton away is a complete who knows, because they've been sublime and ridiculous in equal measure this
Very
season.
much.
Everton. I suspect that City will beat us, even if we do try to win that game, which it's a shame we have to. Chelsea, I like our chances, and I think we'll beat Huddersfield and Cardiff. So really, it's a question of what the teams above us do and how we do against City. I mean, obviously, we also have to win the other games. I've just breezily said we're going to win, but
So you're saying 4 wins and a loss, 12 points? Would that do it? I'm not sure it will.
Well, I mean, really and truly, there's obviously that completely depends. So Chelsea are playing Burnley at home, then they play us, and of course, if we beat Chelsea, then that's them effectively us leapfrogging them. So it then becomes about Arsenal, who've got a
Especially
weird.
Chelsea have only got 4 games left. Yeah, they've played 34, Chelsea. So.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's about Arsenal, who play Palace at home, Wolves away, Leicester away, and then Brighton at home. Now Arsenal have been terrible on the road. I mean, I was very disappointed that Watford didn't get anything out of that game. My goodness, Watford were pushing hard at the end of Monday night's game against Arsenal, and I was really I've spent a lot of this week's very actively supporting teams that aren't Man United, because quite emotionally invested in Ajax too, and I really want Spurs to win this game that I'm watching now, and I really wanted Watford to at least get a draw with Arsenal, but that didn't happen. So we're really relying on our nemesis Wolves.
Yeah, and that might not be enough if United lose to City. So yeah, it's
so Leicester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sean Corrigan says, and I'm doing this one because I know it will annoy you. Quality player, quote unquote.
Oh no!
Or not. Players who don't have the hunger to play for United should be sold. Pogba, De Gea, agree or disagree?
De Gea doesn't have the hunger. De Gea, who has sacrificed his best years for you people. De Gea, who could have won 1 million league titles and instead has been languishing under Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho and David flipping Moyes. David De Gea is a hero to our people.
Sean, I couldn't disagree with you more. Respectfully, of course, but I hate this kind of boneheaded thinking. Oh, and Spurs have scored.
I'm not sure. Is it going to stand? There's some arm business. We've got some VAR situations.
I think I'm a little behind you on the stream I have in the corner of my screen here. Carl Murphy says, how much can United get for Young, Jones, Mata, Darmian and Rojo? I mean, at this, Mata's a different case, I think, because Mata, there may be some value in giving him 2 years and keeping him within the squad. It doesn't look like that's happening, but we'll see. Young, Jones, they've just given a new 4-year contract to. Young, Darmian and Rojo, just get him off the books. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Well, there's
a bigger choice to be made about Sanchez.
Yeah.
Which he asks about. That really big choice to be made there, because there's no value from a transfer point of view. So would it allow the club to build by getting at least some of his wages off the book?
Yeah. Yes, please.
So Ryan says, how many of the current players do you think can develop into being able to play to a good standard of consistency over the course of an entire season or seasons? So who would you... Can we just, with the previous conversation, how many of the current squad do we think, after this period of rebuilding that will be funded by Woodward and overseen by Ole and the as yet unnamed director of football, how many of the current squad stay at United? And how many of the younger players that are coming through will be part of that squad?
Well, one of my big hopes for Ole is that the young players are a huge part of it. So one of my big hopes is that, Gomez, Chong, Greenwood in particular, these guys become a really key part of the squad, but also we look a little deeper. I mean, one of the things that if you'd asked me before the PSG away game, do I think Scott McTominay should be a big part of next season? I probably would have said no. And now I'm thinking, well, if he keeps this up, then definitely. So that's partly just me being reactive, isn't it? Obviously, because it's a bit silly to react to changing circumstances that quickly. But yeah, So what's the question? I rambled a lot there.
I mean, how many players in the squad do we retain? I mean, part of the reason why I think this view of like, let's sell Pogba, let's sell De Gea is dumb, because you just don't sell great players. And it was a goal for Spurs. Perfectly fine, came off his hip. You just don't sell great players and then suddenly think you're going to be able to, grow from there. You do everything you can to retain them and bring better players in so they become even better, right? So of the players, so you do everything you can to keep De Gea and Pogba, for sure. Of the other players, I would keep Shaw and Dalot. We need competition in both those positions. Lindelof, I think, has grown into a very good centre-half. Not perfect, but a very good one.
Yeah, definitely.
But Bailly, I've kind of given up on. I think Ole has too. He's got the raw materials, but it's just never come together. And Smalling and Jones will never be part of a United title-winning side, I don't think.
Apart from when they were,
Apart from when they were. But at no point were they ever solidly in that team, were they? God. In midfield, well, Herrera's going. Fred, well, there's a spark. There's a little spark there, isn't there? There's some seed of hope. I don't know, really, but he's definitely the kind of player you'd like around the squad. If he can play like that, at least like the first game, like the game in Paris and the first game against Barcelona, if he can play like that every week, I'd keep him. Matic's got to go. He's just such a burden on United. And Rashford and Martial, you definitely keep. Lukaku's a big question for me, because I don't think United can play the kind of high-tempo Ollie ball with him in the team. And he's a £75 million asset on huge wages. And does he really want to be a backup? Does he want to be the Fernando Llorente to Marcus Rashford?
I like the way we get hundreds of listeners' questions and you're just making up your own now as well.
Yeah.
That wasn't the question, right? The question wasn't how many of the first team squad do we keep. It was which of the young players could become consistent.
How many of the current players do you think can develop into being able to play good standard consistently over the course of an entire season or seasons?
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
My bad.
Rambled on. Ben Young says, we sold
Smalley...
Ajax's left-back and captain to them and played Ashley Young, Daley Blind, who's played 50 games this season, by the way, and was sublime again. I doff my hat to you, Daley. I've made fun of your hair.
Yes!
But it was always his best position.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I'll do the whole question because it's only fair to Ben. We sold Ajax's left-back and captain to them and played Ashley Young and made him our captain. My question is, ... gently sobbing.
I really like that. And in answer to your question, Phil Jones played 1,200 minutes and Smalling 1,000 minutes in the league that season.
Wow.
Making them the 15th and 17th biggest minutes on the pitch in the league that season.
All right, so squad players. Andrew Hardiman says, first signing this summer should be Edward van der Sar to replace the wood chopper. ...
Lovely. I'll take it.
He was being interviewed yesterday after Ajax's win against Juventus. He has overseen their at least part of their development, hasn't he? In a sort of technical director role he has there now. Would be a good and popular appointment.
I suspect he'd probably rather stay at Ajax, maybe. I mean, I guess he doesn't need money, does he? And like Edwin van der Sar's probably like all right for money. And Ajax are doing amazing things. I mean, I guess half their team will be sold out from them under them in the summer, so maybe he would want to come to a club where that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, Frank de Jong's going, and I'm going to guess that Matthias de Ligt will probably go too. And it looks like Barcelona are sniffing around him. I mean, what a great player he is.
We really need a left back, and theirs is really good.
D. Blind.
We don't need a left back, do we?
To be honest, his dad could probably do better than Ashley Young. By the way, I did say there's a bigger conversation about Ashley Young, and sorry, I'm going to go on a different ramble, but lots of reports today of him being racially abused on Twitter. I mean, which Pogba gets every week. Please, people. I mean, if you cannot see beyond the colour of a player's skin and feel the need to dehumanize a player when he has played badly, just get away from our club because we don't need you. And football has a huge problem racism right throughout the pyramids. I don't know whether you read Jacob Steinberg's excellent piece in The Guardian, where he went off and interviewed a lot of people at all levels. Football's got a huge problem amongst, and I don't want to see it amongst United's fans, but sadly, it is apparently there.
It's getting worse and worse and worse as it gets worse in society. Again, it's becoming more and more acceptable in public spaces. It's a massive problem, and it's going to be
out in the
of us all.
open. Yeah, this is not just troll accounts with fake handle. This is people who can be readily identified. It's people just think it is acceptable and okay. They've been given permission.
I emailed Ed Woodward this week. This was a really stupid thing to do, but I was frustrated. What a ridiculous thing to do. But I literally was like, right, I'm just going to email Ed Woodward, because why not? United ran, I was really pleased and proud. They ran a series of adverts, which I've not seen other clubs doing. Perhaps they have. Ran All Red, All Equal, a campaign against racism, sexism, and homophobia, and I thought it was beautiful. And I thought it was particularly beautiful that how timely it was. I really appreciated the intersectionality of it. I think that they can't run that campaign and keep employing Ron Atkinson on MUTV.
No,
I think
that's right. And I had that
really
debate with someone
on
Twitter this week because Tommy Smith died, former Liverpool player, who had some really abhorrent views, and which were exposed in both an interview with a former colleague of his in The Guardian a few years back, and also a book by a former colleague of his, like in real graphic detail, and this wasn't mentioned at all by Liverpool. Of course not, or any of the players and pundits who came out and talked about him. And I don't think you can divorce context when giving a eulogy. I just don't think you can. So I pointed this out, and especially in a week when Mo Salah was racially abused by Chelsea fans. They made a very strong statement, Liverpool, and I think it was very selective. And the statement was great on its own, but not great in context of how the club has behaved. And so anyway, I had made some snarky comments and ended up having a debate. And there was a lot of whataboutism. Oh, but you employ Ron Atkinson, and it's not whataboutism isn't ever a great argument, but it's right. He should not be anywhere near MUTV.
But and I almost feel like we can shut up about Tommy Smith, because I don't think anyone should shut up about Tommy Smith. I think it should be waved to the rooftops while all the eulogies are going on, because it's despicable that this stuff gets forgotten when somebody dies. But we should be talking about Ron Atkinson. That's because, I want to just clarify. I'm not saying we shouldn't be talking about Tommy Smith, but I just mean what's really important is that we talk about the people that support our club that are racially abusing Ashley Young, and the fact that our club is equally being selective in putting out a kind of beautiful, moving, I would suspect probably very sincere on the part of everyone that took part in it campaign, at the same time as employing Ron Atkinson. So, United can do one on this front until they sort that out, basically.
Yeah. And we do talk about it on this podcast, so I feel okay about that. We're going to have to end this soon, but Scott 212821337. I hope that's not your phone number, Scott. That wouldn't be very sensible.
Or card details.
Yeah, or card details. Yeah, send him a sext, will you, Paul? And let's find out.
No, thank you.
No. Whose rebuild will be quicker, Man United or Notre Dame Cathedral?
Come on. Come on, man. People are super sad about that building.
That actually pissed me off as well, I've got to say.
Yeah, of course it did.
Like, €1 billion pledged by rich families. Like, has anyone seen politics in France recently? There are people suffering and hurting through inequality and poverty. And when a building burns down, very famous and beautiful building, but a building, money is found, but not for those people.
My French mum, providing an insight into left-leaning French Facebook, when telling me that she'd seen somebody share a thing that was like a quote from Victor Hugo saying, "Well, thanks for doing all these nice things for my cathedral, but have you don't forget about Les Miserables."
Well, quite.
So, which I thought was a rather nice way of making the same point. I'm sorry to do jokes about things that people find upsetting, but somebody shared a tweet with me which says, "Oh, it's really sad about Notre Dame," from an Eiffel Tower fan. And that made me just cry with laughter. Absolutely.
That is a good one.
That trope about, oh God, this is really sad, and I'm a United fan, or if something bad happens to Liverpool. It's like, what does that supersede your humanity? Anyway.
Okay, we're going to cut it off there. Sorry, there are many more questions.
Come on, let's do. Come on, Ed. Let's do a bit more. Let's do a little bit more, because we haven't given the people no talk for such a long time.
Okay, all right. The people have demanded it. Aidan Muck says, you can only upgrade the defence or the midfield this summer. What do you choose?
Midfield.
See, I was going to say defence, because I think defence allows you freedom to much more freedom further forward in the pitch to play in the way that you want.
I think that our first choice back four is not that bad. A first choice back four of, obviously De Gea, Shaw, Dalot, Lindelof and Smalling isn't that bad. You'd want to upgrade Smalling, but it's not like a complete disaster if that's your first choice back four. And there's kind of decent cover, not at fullbacks. Obviously, that's a massive problem with cover. But I think the midfield, given that it's basically Pogba and McTominay now, and Pogba might leave. I think that's the one I'd want to do something about.
Unfortunately, it has to be both. At least 2 fullbacks and 1 central defender. Fullbacks are just so important.
Yeah, and I would much rather get a fullback, 1 right back, 2 really good central midfielders.
Yeah, the question on the right back's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because, imagine United did spend 40 million or so on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They'd be getting a very good player by the looks of it, but also with a similar age and experience profile to Dalot.
Well, it's not. I think it's generous to Dalot to say it's a similar experience profile, because Bissaka's played a ton of Premier League football, hasn't he? And Dalot's played a small handful of games at a senior level. But it's not
orders of magnitude more, is it?
How
many Premier League games has Wan-Bissaka played?
I don't know. Was he in the team last season?
No. He came in this season.
Okay, well then, then it's not. You're absolutely right. But the thing is, I think Dalot. First of all, Dalot can fill in on the other side for sure. Obviously, it's not ideal, but he can. But I also think Dalot will get a ton of games further up the pitch, and I have no problem with that at all. I like seeing Dalot up the pitch. He's got a lot to offer as an attacking player. So I think he'd still get plenty of games.
I don't think he'd have a patch on a real attacking player, but he's got stuff to offer. Miles Bailey says, do we have a right back better than Raphael? Do we have a right winger better than Nani? Do we have a central midfielder better than Carrick? So, that's an odd one out there. Do we have a striker better than RVP? Not at their peak. Well, how have we spent so much money since Sir Alex retired and gone backwards?
I thought this was like, I was like, this is a really good question. And it's like, this is
it went a bit off piece with Carrick and RVP,
because they're both, obviously, but they wouldn't be, there's no, first of all, yes, we've got better central midfielder than Michael Carrick, because Pogba's better than Michael Carrick. And as for striker, obviously, we haven't got a better striker than RVP, but there's only 2 in the world. And RVP, we've definitely got a better striker than RVP now. Raphael and Nani would still be getting in the first team.
I don't know. Nani's playing at Orlando in MLS at the moment, so I'm not sure he would be.
Of course. Did you see him and Rooney giving each other I can't wait to see you, pal, on social media? It was nice.
Very good. Will the inevitable signing of Gareth Bale this summer be worse than Sanchez, says Henrik Abjornsson?
Oh my God.
God, please no.
I just hope
they
we
just
don't
wouldn't. Real Madrid want to offload because they want to fund a huge spending spree for Zidane, who was no huge fan of Bale anyway.
Surely,
but this is a player who plays about half the games.
Yeah, surely we're not going to fall for that. Surely, even Ed Woodward, because Woodward is, for all his faults, he's not actually dumb. And the nightmare scenario...
Have you got evidence for that?
The nightmare scenario is that if Woodward thinks that Pep wants Gareth Bale somehow, if Pep tricks him into thinking that he wants Gareth Bale, then we might be in trouble.
Wowza. Sweet Juice says, should we ask Bill Gates to venture into purchasing United? Well, I mean, I'd be a lot happier with Bill Gates in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Let's be honest about it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's I did hear a story today from someone with very good knowledge that Britain's richest man had inquired about purchasing both Chelsea and Manchester United and was scared off by the price that the Glazers were asking. So
right.
So yeah, people are making inquiries, but they are asking for $5 billion plus, which is quite a premium on the current market cap.
I have no idea who Britain's richest man is. I'm going to guess it's not Richard Branson.
Jim Ratcliffe is Britain's richest man. All right, final question for you. This one's for you, Paul. James Sponsor says, what was Paul's favourite WrestleMania?
Oh, ever? Oh, crikey. Well, I think it's going to have to be either 5, 6 or 7 because they were the only ones I actually watched as a child. And it's definitely not 7 because that was the Sergeant Slaughter one. I think it was anyway. Yeah, it was the Hogan Warrior main event. Was as a kid, I just was completely crazy about it. But my I think probably the best ever WrestleMania was WrestleMania 30. Oh my God, it was offside and it's no goal. Oh my God. Oh my God. VAR.
I'm not celebrating because it's really petty and it's really petty to celebrate a rival's defeat, but yes. This takes off some of the moral quandary off the table, of course, because City go out. We don't have to worry about it being the City quadruple versus Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Oh my God! Oh, that is one of the most intense VAR decisions of all time. That is 2.5 minutes into injury time. Oh, I feel a bit sorry for Pep because I still like him.
Wow,
sorry, everyone.
And it's offside.
Sorry, everyone.
Because it's come off Bernardo's shins.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
All right, let's wrap this podcast up. Oh, yeah, we're playing Everton at the weekend. I think we're going to win. Good preview, everyone. Bye. No, I mean, seriously, to give an actual brief preview about Everton are having one of the weirdest seasons out of anyone in the league. They beat Arsenal the other day, but Arsenal were absolutely insipid in that game. But generally speaking, Everton have been wildly swinging in and out of form, and they'll obviously go for it. They're not gonna play. They always play the same way, don't they? So yeah. I think it could be quite a fun game, and
it's outside of Old Trafford as well, which I think is important. To be honest, I'd rather be playing these big games against City and Chelsea at Old Trafford, where we've generally been a bit insipid. But given who we're facing, will suit Ollie's sort of tactical makeup, especially now with everyone basically fit.
Actually, that's a really good point because we play City hot on the heels of the Everton game.
Yeah.
On next Wednesday. So I guess, I don't know, there's not much to be said about that game that isn't completely obvious to everyone that's listening to this. I think it's going to be it is just a massive ask of United at the moment if City are in any kind of decent form. And the real problem is...
form,
yeah, which they are. I mean, on the day, sorry, if they're in any decent form in that game, which they mostly just are at the moment, although they're about to go out of the Champions League to Spurs. In fact, might have even just gone out of the... No, not quite. Whether we can keep our heads as they keep possession will be really interesting. I think we're in exactly the same position as we were against Barcelona, which we failed to do against Barcelona, which is we just have to execute to a high level. It's not like United can't beat really good teams. We absolutely can. Rashford's good, Pogba's good, Martial's good, but they can also be average and bad, and we need to execute to a high level.
No, I think that's right. It's in the moment, that I don't want to pick on Rashford because I'm not, and I'm a big fan, and he's a young player who needs to round out his game. But the big moment of missing that chance sort of 2 minutes in, the big moment, the best players don't do that. And he's got to take those chances in order to become the kind of quality of player we believe he could be. And so, in this game, we haven't got a transfer window and we haven't got years for players to improve. In this game, we have to reach a level that we haven't reached very often under Ole. And it's gonna have to happen. And then Chelsea afterwards, because I don't know if we'll record before the Chelsea game in that case.
Yeah, we should though, shouldn't we?
We should.
We don't want to go another 3 games with that. At some point,
it feels like we've not been recording much recently. So yeah, let's record after the Chelsea game.
Yeah, or no, not after the Chelsea game. Yeah. Or we could even record after Everton. We'll do one of those two. We'll see how it goes.
We'll make it happen. And I don't know if Tom's editing much, but he's going to drop whatever movie he's working on. James Cameron off. Spielberg, you say no chance. I've got a podcast to edit.
The other thing I was going to say is Patreon backers, stay tuned, but maybe just everyone stay tuned. We're optimistic that the technology will work this time, but who knows?
Who knows?
All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Okay. We love you.
Bye now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.